One look, that's all it takes. You are Perseus. You are about to become the first man to kill a god's monster and live. But this story doesn't start in a cave. It starts with a king who feared a baby. An oracle told him something no father wants to hear. Your grandson will kill you. So Acrisius did what frightened kings do. He locked his daughter away. No man could reach her. No man, at least. Zeus doesn't knock on doors. 9 months later, Perseus was born. Acrisius heard the crying through the walls. He couldn't kill his own daughter. So he sealed her in a wooden chest with the baby and threw them into the sea. This should have been the end of the story. It wasn't. A fisherman named Dictys pulled them from the surf alive. Perseus grew up on that island, strong, quiet. Never told the full truth about his birth, but the island had a king too, and this king wanted Danae for himself. Perseus stood in his way, so Polydectes decided to remove him permanently. At a banquet, the king asked for gifts. Every guest promised something grand. Perseus, young and proud, promised the one thing no one else dared offer, the head of Medusa. The king smiled. He had just handed a boy a death sentence because Medusa wasn't born a monster. She was once a priestess, beautiful, devoted to the goddess Athena. Then Poseidon saw her. What happened next was not her choice, but Athena punished Medusa anyway. Her hair became snakes, her skin turned to scale, her gaze turned flesh to stone. She was exiled to a lair at the edge of the world, where statues of men stood frozen in fear. This was the monster Perseus had promised to kill. He had no weapon, no plan, no idea where to even find her. Then 2 gods stepped out of the light. Aininthibaik, Athena, who despised Medusa. Hermes, who loved a good challenge. They gave him tools no mortal had ever held. Winged sandals to fly, a curved sword, sharp enough to cut immortal flesh. A polished bronze shield so he would never have to look at her directly, and a cap that made him invisible. One problem remained. Nobody knew where Medusa lived, except 3 sisters who shared a single eye. The Gray Sisters. Ancient. Blind, unless they held the eye. Perseus waited. The moment the eye passed between hands, he snatched it from the air. Give it back, they screamed. He offered a trade instead, directions or darkness forever. They told him everything. Perseus flew for days, following the edge of the known world. Finally, he saw it. An island of stone. Not stone from nature, stone from men who had looked. Perseus landed near the mouth of a cave. He could hear breathing inside. He put on the cap. He vanished. He raised the shield instead of his eyes and stepped inside. 2 of Medusa's sisters slept nearby, immortal, untouchable, not his target. Then, in the mirror, he saw her, Medusa, awake, alone, watching the entrance. Perseus moved, using only the reflection to guide his blade. One wrong step, one glance without the mirror, and he would join the statues outside. He struck. The blade never touched skin he looked at directly. One clean cut. Medusa's head fell before her sisters even opened their eyes. From the wound, something impossible emerged. Pegasus, a winged horse born from her blood and Poseidon's ancient claim on her. Perseus grabbed the head, wrapped it, and didn't look back. The sisters woke to a scream that never came. Only silence and blood. They hunted him through the sky, but the cap made him invisible. They swiped at empty air. Perseus flew for weeks, the head sealed in its pouch, still deadly. He crossed deserts, mountains, kingdoms no Greek had mapped. In one kingdom, he saw a girl chained to a rock at the edge of the sea, Andromeda, offered as a sacrifice to a sea monster, punishment for her mother's pride. Perseus didn't have to stop. He stopped anyway. This time, he used the blade the ordinary way. The monster fell into the sea. Andromeda was free. He married her before he even finished his journey home. But home still had unfinished business. Polydectes never expected him to return. He had spent years pursuing Danae, certain the boy was dead. Then Perseus walked into the throne room. "I brought your gift," he said. Polydectes laughed. He didn't believe it. Not until the cloth came off. Perseus turned his own eyes away and lifted Medusa's head toward the throne. The last thing Polydectes ever felt was fear. Stone. All of him, down to the throne he sat on. The kingdom was Perseus's. If he wanted it, he didn't. He gave the gifts back to the gods, the sandals, the cap, the shield. Only the head remained, still too dangerous to keep. Athena took it and placed it on her own shield forever. The same face that once turned men to stone now guarded a goddess in battle. But there was still the matter of the oracle. Acrisius, the grandfather who threw a baby into the sea, was still alive. He He had spent years running from a prophecy he thought he'd already escaped. Perseus never sought him out for revenge. He didn't even know where he was. Years later, at a games competition, Perseus threw a discus. A gust of wind carried it off course into the crowd. It struck an old man standing among the spectators. Perseus ran to help. He didn't recognize the face until it was too late. It was Acrisius, the grandfather he had never met. The oracle had been right all along, just not in the way anyone expected. No sword, no hatred, no plan, just wind, and a discus, and a prophecy that refused to be avoided. You cannot outrun what the gods have already written. Perseus returned to Andromeda. Together they built a kingdom that lasted generations. Their descendants would one day include the greatest hero in Greek myth, Heracles. A monster's death gave birth to a bloodline of legends. But remember how this really started, not with a monster, with a girl who was punished for someone else's crime. Perseus became a legend for killing her. History remembers the sword. It forgets who deserved protecting.